Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video we are taking a step back in time and doing some flashback favourites. This is a video series that I have seen Samantha March do. I think she may be the one that came up with it. I will link Samantha's channel in the description box below. But I thought it was a great idea because I do love looking back at old makeup, other people's as well as my own. So what I'm going to do is look back to just over a year ago when I actually posted my first videos on YouTube, and my first 3 or 4 videos were all favourites videos. I hadn't really looked back at those videos since I posted them, I say just over a year ago, so it was nice to go back and look and see what my favourites were at the time, because then I didn't have a massive makeup collection. It was around that time that I really got into watching YouTube as well as making YouTube videos myself, so my collection kind of rapidly grew from there. So I will start with my very first video, which was just an overall favourites video. There are some overlaps in products from the first favourite video and then the other 3 that I did after that, because they were specific to eyeshadows, lipsticks and mascaras, but I'll obviously advise that as I go through. So starting with the favourites video, the first thing that I said was a favourite of mine was the Bare Minerals Powder Foundation. This is something that I do still have one of in my collection. This isn't the one from that video, but I finished that one some months ago, and at that time made the decision to start trying liquid foundations. But I already had purchased this one, I had this one in my backup. It's still got the instruction book thing, it's still unopened. But I don't want to get rid of it because I may one day want to go back into powder foundations. I know this will eventually go off, but I just didn't want to touch it in case it's not too long before I pick it up again, that this is okay, because it is quite expensive. I think we paid £20–25 for this, so I don't want to completely waste it, but I'm just not feeling this kind of foundation at the moment. For those curious, I am the shade Fairly Light. The next thing I mentioned were a couple of concealers. The first one being the Collection Lasting Perfection Concealer, and this was such a staple in my collection, again only up until a couple of months ago, and that was when I found the YSL Touche Eclat was such a better fit for getting rid of my dark under eye circles. Until I tried that, this was my holy grail at doing that. Still a good concealer, and if you're definitely looking for a good drugstore under eye concealer, I would highly recommend this. But for me personally, the tone of the shade for the Touche Eclat just is better to hide the dark circles than this. I am shade 1 in both of them, but the YSL one has a more of a peachy tone to it, and that seems to counteract the purple pretty well. This covered it, but I say just not as good as that. So I have still kept it in my collection because I do really like it, and sometimes I do occasionally reach for it, but not very often if I'm honest. But there's not a lot left, so I do kind of want to use it up, but I probably wouldn't repurchase it. The next concealer is the Barry M Flawless Light Reflection Concealer. Again, this was one that was a holy grail. Used it on my blemishes, sometimes on a daily basis, and then about 6 months or so I started noticing that my skin was getting clearer and clearer, and that I was reaching for this less and less because I was getting less blemishes, and that is solely what I use this for. But about 3 or 4 months ago, I think it is, I recently changed my contraceptive pill, and it has just wreaked havoc with my hormones, and I keep breaking out again, which is driving me insane. So I'm reaching for this again, sometimes on a daily basis, which is a shame because I really don't want blemishes, but at least I have something that helps me cover them up really well. So yeah, definitely still reaching for this one. The next thing on my list was the Rimmel Natural Bronzer. I don't have this product anymore. I decluttered that a while ago in my face products declutter. It was a good bronzer, but my preferences just changed, so I didn't find myself reaching for it anymore. That's why I got rid of it. The next thing in my list was the Freedom Pro Blush Palette, and this is again another one that I no longer have in my collection because I did declutter that. This was a great little blush palette, and I had it for some time. I did get a lot of use out of it. It had 6 shades of blush, and then I think it had some marbleized highlighty blushes in the middle. The reason that I stopped using it was because I fell in love with the Tarte blushes. At this point in time I wasn't using highlighters when I got rid of it, and I never actually used the middle two, I don't think. But it was a really great great blush palette. I just passed it on to a friend who I knew would make better use out of it because it was getting more and more unloved by me because I just kept reaching for the Tarte blushes. Next we have the Urban Decay Naked palette, which of course I still have in my collection and I'm never going to get rid of it. Yes, okay, I don't reach for it an awful lot, but it was my first ever high-end palette, so I'm never going to part with this. I have made a fair good try on it. There are a couple of shades that do have a good dent in them. It was just my go-to palette for so long. I literally reached for it every single time I did an eyeshadow look. I had a few others in my collection, but this was pretty much one of the only ones that I reached for. So won't part with it, but it does need some more love at the moment. The next thing we have is Rimmel Brow This Way, and this is a brow sculpting kit. This one is brand new and still has the plastic cover over the wax, because at the point I finished my last one I decided to give the Benefit Goof Proof pencil a go. Hadn't tried pencils really at that stage and ended up falling in love with that, and now that is the one that I use every day and I just don't reach for this at all anymore. I think I might use this for travelling because I'd be scared of taking my Goof Proof away and losing it, or it getting the pencil getting snapped or something like that. So I think for travelling I'd probably be more inclined to take this. I just haven't travelled since I started using the Benefit one. I have a couple of mascaras. The first one is the Clinique Lash Power mascara, and this was the first ever high-end mascara that I purchased, I believe, and loved it for so long. It is still a great mascara. Again, I just don't find myself overly reaching for it. This one has probably been in my collection longer than it should have been. I think this is probably pushing the 6-month mark now, but I haven't reached for it in a good couple of months, so I think I'm going to pull this back out and make this something that I do actively try and reach for, because it is a really good mascara. The only issue I have with it is so long lasting, it's quite hard to get off. But a great mascara, I would recommend it, but there are a lot of drugstore ones that I kind of prefer now. We have the Benefit Roller Lash. This is another one. Bought this not that long after trying the Clinique one. These were the only two mascaras that I used, both high-end, because I hadn't liked any drugstore ones I tried at that time. So these were my go-to mascaras, the Clinique and this one. As you can see, I've not even opened this. I think I got this bought for me. I think my mum bought me this for my birthday back in July. And because I've got so many other mascaras on the go, I just haven't even opened it. I will open it once I've made a good dent in finishing some of the ones I have open, because again, it is a really good mascara that I do really like. The next thing was the Rimmel Eye Makeup Remover, and this is still something that I regularly use in my makeup routine. And as you can see from the lines on this bottle, this was one that was in my project pan. An update of that is coming in a couple of weeks, which, sneak peek, I've finished it, but I'm reusing the bottle because on the new one that I bought they changed the opening on it and made it smaller so that less came out. And to be honest, I don't actually use this to remove my makeup, I use this to fix my mistakes. I just dip a cotton bud in the end and fix any mistakes that I've got. I did used to use this to remove my eye makeup until I found the Clinique, I think it's called Take the Day Off lotion. So now I use that to take my whole eye makeup off. This is just to fix any mistakes that I make. And say because of that purpose, that's why I've reused this old bottle. But this, I think, is maybe the third bottle that I'm on now. So I say it is a great one and it doesn't irritate my eyes, which a couple of other ones that I have tried since do. The next product that was on my favourites list was the BioNike Tolerant Defense Cleansing Water. I have since finished that product and did not repurchase it. The reason being I found a cheaper alternative because that was quite pricey and it did also irritate my skin slightly. So I did not repurchase that, and the only reason I had that in the first place was because I had, I think, Birchbox points that I'd used to help towards the payment of it. But yeah, I haven't repurchased that since. The next product was the Seche Vite Top Coat, and that is what we have here. This is another one that has been slightly unloved recently because I've found a new favourite, and that is the Essie Top Coat. I found that the last bottle I had of this was making my nail varnish shrink after a little while and also discolouring it. So if I had a light blue shade on or something, for example, after about 3 or 4 days it would start to look darker blue and it would shrink around the edges, which meant my nail varnish wouldn't last as long. It wasn't chipping, it was just shrinking, so it looked a bit odd. So this is a fresh bottle which I have tried a little bit and it doesn't seem to be as bad as the last one, but I find that the Essie one makes my nail varnishes last just that little bit longer than this did. So I am going to use it up because it would be a waste not to, because it's not a cheap product. So once that Essie one has run out, I'll probably use this and then repurchase another Essie one. Final product that was mentioned in my favourites video was the Victoria's Secret Tease fragrance. And this is a fragrance that I've probably been working my way through for just coming up to 18 months now. And I wear this fragrance pretty much every single day. There's not many days that I miss, and that is all that I've used. I stupidly put this in my project pan. Not that I was going to use it anymore because I already used it every day, but I was just curious to see my progress of it. It's a really nice smell. It's not the longest lasting, but because I don't take it with me, I only use it in the morning and that's it. And then I do have another fragrance in my handbag if I want to freshen myself up. Yeah, so you'll see the progress of that in the upcoming project pan video. But it's a really nice fragrance, and I do actually have a second bottle of this, because it's something that I've only seen in airports. So when I went on holiday in April this year, I seen it in the airport again, so picked up another one because it is reasonably priced as well. When I'm going to ever get round to that, I don't know. But I think I just need to start bathing myself in it to maybe see if that'll help me get through it quicker. That was it for the favourites video. Now we're going into the more specific videos, and the first one I filmed was my top 5 eyeshadow palettes. The first one mentioned in that video was the Wet n Wild Walking on Eggshells. This is a really great little trio with some really nice neutral shades, a bright brow bone, a brown crease, and then a pinky eyelid shade. And this is one that I will tend to throw in my handbag if I know I'm going out after work or something like that. It's not one I tend to reach for overly of a day, because I have so many other eyeshadow palettes that I now want to reach for, but at the time I purchased it I did use it quite a lot, and these are great for the price. I think it's only £2 or £3. It is obviously the old formula because the new ones are now £4. I haven't tried the new formula of this one. I would say I'd like to try it, but it would just be a waste because it would just be to try while I've still got this one. And from what I've heard, some of the palettes are better in their older formula. But yeah, I still really like this and do occasionally reach for it, but it's not as loved as it was when I filmed that video. The next eyeshadow palette mentioned was the Fleur de Force Lunar Rose palette, and this is one that is no longer in my collection. I decluttered that as part of my eyeshadow declutter, which I will link in the cards. That was quite a nice purple toned eyeshadow palette, but I just didn't really like the quality of it. The pigmentation wasn't great and they weren't the easiest to blend, and if I remember rightly, you did have to kind of dig in the pan quite a bit to get the colour payoff. So I think I passed that one on to a friend, if not got rid of it. That was one I purchased because I did follow her more at that time and wanted to support her and her releases, but I was slightly disappointed with it if I'm honest, so that one has gone. The next one was the NYX Ultimate Warm Neutrals palette, and this again is another one that I no longer have in my collection because it was decluttered. I purchased this because I was trying to stop myself purchasing the Naked Heat palette and to try and save myself some money. But in the end, I was so disappointed with that NYX palette that I did end up buying the Naked Heat, and I'm so glad I did because that is a brilliant palette, and that to me is the ultimate fall, autumn, winter palette, and I'm cracking into that at the moment and really enjoying doing so. You know, I was really disappointed by the NYX ones, and I do think that those size palettes of theirs are quite overpriced for what they are. The shades in it were nice, it did have a nice colour story in it, but when you put shades on your eyes, I personally found that they just muddied together, so they didn't create a great look, and the shadows weren't very long lasting. Even with the primer, I found I did struggle to keep them on if I was wearing it for a whole day. I believe that is another one that one of my friends has taken. That is another one that I did get rid of. The next one that I think was mentioned in that video was the Urban Decay Naked, which you've obviously heard my thoughts on already. And then the final one mentioned in that video was the Too Faced Chocolate Bar, which if you see my recent regrets video, you will see that I'm not overly keen on this one, but I can't get rid of it. This was only the second high-end eyeshadow palette that I ever purchased. When I purchased the Naked palette, it was between the Chocolate Bar and the Naked, and because I love the Naked palette so much, I thought I wanted to try Too Faced's formula, and it's just not for me. The colours in the palette are quite nice. I just find that they muddy together, which for a high-end palette I find quite disappointing. I don't think I've ever reached for this pink shade, if only to try it, and then I've not liked what it looks like on the eye and I've just taken it straight off. The only shades that I really like in this palette are the Gilded Ganache and Amaretto. I know I really should get rid of it, but I think it's just because I spent so much on it. I'm determined to try and use it, and I do pull it out every so often. This is the palette that, if I've got the weight space for it, I do take on holiday with me because it is so sturdy with the tin. I think it's not going to break, and also if it did break I wouldn't be that upset because I'm not that keen on it. So this is kind of my travelling palette, but yeah, it's still in my collection, but I'm not a big fan of it. That is it for the eyeshadows video. The next video I think was lipsticks. So the first one mentioned was the Rimmel Stay Matte liquid lipstick, and that was in the shade Pink Bliss, which I do still have here, but I can't actually remember the last time I wore this. So that is a pinky coral colour, which to be honest I thought I would reach for over the summer, but I didn't because it's quite a bright look on my lips. Looking at it again, swatched on my hand, it is a really nice shade, so I would like to say that I am going to reach for it again soon, but I just can't remember the last time I did actually reach for it. So I think I'm due to do another lip declutter shortly, possibly in the new year, because I may get some new lipsticks for Christmas, so I'll then have a sort out after Christmas to see what I want to keep and get rid of. So this one is kind of on the chopping block at the moment. The next products mentioned, and I think this was 2 of them in this video, was the Barry M liquid lips. I'll have both of them that were mentioned, and they are On the Scene and Runway. Again, these are lipsticks that I haven't reached for in a long time, and I used to absolutely love this formula. I don't know the reason why I haven't reached for them. I don't know if they've just been buried or I've just found myself wanting to reach for other colours more. I feel a bit bad that I have neglected them because I did love this formula so much. It is quite a runny formula and it does dry down quickly, and that's what I used to like, but now I think I tend to preference a slightly thicker, more moisturising formula. At the time I hadn't tried other formulas I loved, but now I think I may have tried other formulas that I prefer, but I'm going to give them another go because they are really nice shades. That one is On the Scene and that one is Runway. I think that would be a really nice shade for this time of the year because it is a reddy berry type colour. You can see they're drying down already and they are quite dry, so I think these might be other ones that are on the chopping block, but I do need to give them another go before I decide properly. The next lipstick mentioned was the Clinique Long Last Matte lipstick, and that was in the shade Beauty. I still have this one, but again I haven't reached for this for a while. Not as long as the last couple of ones mentioned, but it has still been a good while that I've reached for it because this is also quite a drying formula, but it could be because I've had this lipstick a long time. That's why it could be slightly more drying, because I don't remember when I first purchased it being overly drying, but I don't know if that's because I've tried more moisturising formulas since, so when I've tried it, I don't know, but I do still really like the shade of this, and because this one is kind of linked to the lipstick I wore on my wedding day, I don't know if I could necessarily get rid of it. I'm going to give this one a few more tries, but we'll see in the declutter whether I actually get rid of this one or not. Last 2 lipsticks mentioned in that video were both by Essence. One was in their Sheer and Shine formula and one was in their Long Lasting formula. These don't have shade names, but they have shade numbers. So the Long Lasting is in the shade number 7, which isn't overly pigmented, but these are quite comfortable on the lips. And then the Sheer and Shine is in the shade number 3. It's going to be quite dark, but because it is a sheer formula, it's quite a brighter colour. These 2, I think I've probably reached for this the most recently out of all 5, to be honest, and then followed by this one because they are quite comfortable to wear. I do just generally throw these on to nip the shops kind of thing. So really do rate these lipsticks because they are budget friendly, definitely £1 or £2 each. So yeah, out of all those 5 lipsticks, these are probably the ones that I reach for the most frequently still. So the final video in my favourite series was the top 5 mascaras, a couple of which I have already mentioned, being the Lash Power and the Roller Lash, so you know my thoughts on them. The other 3 mascaras mentioned were the Barry M Feature Length Mascara. This is one that I have pulled out of my empties bin. It is a really great mascara, budget friendly. I think it's £5 and I do really recommend it, and once I have got through my mass of a mascara collection I probably would repurchase this. So I don't currently have it in my collection because it's ran out, but I would like to have it in my collection if that makes sense. The one that I've pulled from my empties bin is the Maybelline Lash Sensational Mascara. This is another good drugstore mascara, but not my favourite. I find that this one flakes and smudges on me a lot, and by the end of the day I do have panda eyes. I also find that the brush is a bit more awkward to use for a curved brush. I'm not the best with them anyway, but this is one that I've tried much better curved brushes since. So this one has gone, so currently isn't in my collection, and I probably wouldn't repurchase this one. The final mascara and final item of all my favourites is the Essence Volume Stylist 18-hour Lash Extend Mascara with Lengthening Fibres. Officially the longest named mascara ever. As you can see, I still have this one here, and this is still ongoing in my collection. This is probably the 3rd bottle of this since I filmed that favourites video, because I do love this mascara and I do reach for this on a regular basis. This is a slightly drier formula than a lot of mascaras that I own, so I do find myself needing to replace this a lot sooner than others. I know the rule for mascaras should be every 3 months, but I tend to do every 6 months. But this I need to replace every 3 months because it does dry out and then becomes less effective on your lashes. But a really great mascara, and I think it is about £3 here in the UK. So that is a look back of all my favourites from last year. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. Thanks.